Huh? Oh,
Hello, hello everybody. Welcome to Tea with Mr. V, a show where I sit down with some lovely people, drink some tea, and get some nice, get some nice chats in. Maybe a little bit of information about people. Who knows? I am your host, Mr. V, from the Adventures of Mr. V on TikTok. If you're from here, go check that out. And joining me today is the lovely SarahisCoffee. Hello.
hi! I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. I've been looking forward to just nice to hang out.
I'm gonna
So
hang
yeah.
and talk.
Yeah. We are. Hell yeah. So yes. As I said, we'll just get through just some quick announcements. So yes, I am from the Adventures of Mr. V on TikTok. Check me out there. As long as TikTok is still around. You can also find me here every not every Friday, on Fridays sometimes for our Bioshock campaign, where we play Bioshock D&D, which is cool. As well as you can also find me on Bard Community College, where I play in a campaign there. Another thing is that I have a Ko-fi for this channel and this show called ko-fi.com/tea with Mr. V. If you want to help support the show, go ahead and do something there. You don't have to. It's just just the little things.
Do it though. Do it.
Yeah. What is it? Last week with Michael was just give me the money. Just give me the money.
Give, please, God.
Yeah. Sarah, is there anything you would like to promote?
Yeah. I'd love to. I have a couple of things. I do some stuff over on the Welcome In, which is fantastic. You should check that out. I both DM and play, so it's always fun over there. And then I am also on Bard Community College every Monday at 8:30 Eastern, playing on Witches of Woodside. So all them good things. Yeah.
Cool. And I believe you also have a Patreon.
I do have a Patreon. It's the same as everything. Honestly, for all my socials, you can go SarahisCoffee. That's me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, the theme with this episode is obviously that, we are rivals because I am Tea with Mr. V and you are SarahisCoffee. So,
Oh no! But I think we're reaching a truce tonight because I'm drinking tea.
Exactly. Yes, the very, very first question of the show, as always, if people remember, what tea are we drinking today, Sarah?
We're drinking green tea. I have a very specific green tea that I have drank for 4 years, and it is my shit. It's the Yogi Green Super Antioxidant, #, not sponsored. But it's so good.
Not sponsored, but could be sponsored.
We don't know.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so we got some lovely green tea. Thank you for, sharing this tea with me.
Absolutely. Today. Clink, clink.
Clink, clink, indeed. Mm-hmm. With my special limited edition, cupcake mug that,
It's beautiful.
I love it.
I love it.
Is there just any is there any specific reason why you enjoy that tea?
So there's I love all green tea. I'm a bit of a tea snob, actually, which I know is weird for the fact that my username is SarahisCoffee. But so I drank 15 different types of green tea growing up, and I was like, this one has this flavor profile, and this one has this one. And then I tasted this one, and it was I didn't even have to add anything to it. It was just a little bit sweet, but still had a strong green tea taste. And I was like, this is mine for life. This is what I drink now. So yeah.
I always love hearing people's origin stories for what their favorite tea is, because I feel like tea and coffee is something special to people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And especially if it's unless if you your instant coffee and that kind of stuff. Nothing against instant coffee, but
it's fine.
It's
instant coffee. Microwaved mugs. It's all fine. Enjoy the drink the way that you enjoy it. I
Just know that I
unfortunately
disapprove.
Yeah, I unfortunately have fallen into I have a tea brewer, like a hot pot that like has 4 different temperature settings, and I'm like, this tea
Yeah,
has this setting. So I'm a mess.
yeah. You know what? If that's the case, then I guess I am too, because I do the same thing. As the resident
Yay!
teen nerd, it's you know, it's like that. So yeah, I think we will, get into it.
Let's do
So
it.
again, thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
It is always a pleasure. Um, so obviously, we kind of met through, kind of TikTok and, through people and friends and stuff. So how did that all start for you? How did being on TikTok start for you?
Oh boy. I actually got TikTok like I think 6 months before I ever started doing anything on it. Um because I used to do that thing where I would like get it and be like, this is super cringy, and then delete it and be like, I'm an adult. And then one time I downloaded it and it stuck, and I was like, no, this isn't cringy. This is actually like wonderful, and I love it. But I didn't discover like the D&D side of TikTok until like,
Mm-hmm.
oh God, like January of this year. And I was like, that's a thing. And I fell deeply into it and like loved it so much. I found like a few creators that I super liked. And
Mm-hmm.
then one day I like was coming home from my D&D session and I was like, you know what? I want to make a D&D TikTok. Did not know how the app worked. Like fumbled around. I think I cobbled together 15-second segments because I didn't understand you could switch to the 60-second portion.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like that TikTok got super popular, and I was like, I get to make content about something that I'm obsessed with in the first place? Hell yeah. And I just kept going from there.
Yeah. I feel like that's like how a lot of people start, really. Like, it's just like, oh my god, there's D&D TikTok? What?
This
Wait,
exists.
I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I could do this. And then, it just ends up going, some, I wouldn't say dark hole, but, it gets somewhere,
Oh yeah.
as
And
as the fanatics say.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that I was like positioned in a really like lucky place where I think when I joined, like started making D&D TikToks, I think there were like 10 other creators kind of who were doing. It was not a big pool at that point. And then maybe like a month after I started making them, it exploded and like everyone started like getting in on it, and I was like, oh my god, I beat a trend. I finally did it.
Yes.
Not a millennial, a Gen Z now. I'm truly one of them. So yeah,
I'm one of the kids now. Yeah.
I am hip with the kids. I am.
I swear.
I swear it.
Yeah. And that's real cool. And like, it's not just the fact that it blowed up. You now have like over 150,000 followers. Like, how? How? Wait.
No. Oh, I don't know. No, it truly is crazy. I've gone through a few periods where I'll gain over like 1,000 followers a day, and that's how I think that started happening. And I think I had a couple of videos that like just to preface it, I've never had a video go traditionally viral, actually. I've never had a super viral video that like gained almost like 1 million views or anything. My stuff is like very consistently like just kind of risen in views as my followers rise. And at first I was like super insecure about that because I'm like, everyone else has a big cool video and my videos just all do the same. But I think it's helped me out in the long run. So maybe that, I suppose. But I really love it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Totally. Like it's that kind of like that gradual growth.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
like very like consistent, growth. Unlike people who are just like big, small, big,
Right.
You know.
And I think it
Um,
definitely helps that like I never stop having ideas, so I feel like I'm just scrolling through TikTok and I'm like, I could use that sound for something. And before I know it,
yeah,
I've made like 50 videos in a row kind of thing. So that's also
yeah,
helpful.
yeah. Well, what is your like typical process for like making your videos? Would you say?
It changes, I guess. So
Mhm,
I've gotten really into like some cosplay stuff too, so that's a little different. But
mhm,
my strategy for videos is kind of, and this is gonna sound weird, staying out of D&D TikTok as much as possible on like my For You
mhm.
page. So
Yeah,
that I can find like really weird sounds. And whenever I like hear a sound that I like, uh that just gets saved immediately, and I'll just like film a draft of my ceiling with the idea scribbled onto it, and then I'll come back to it later and film it. And that's basically the way that I do it. I like making stories a lot, and I like making memes and jokes, so I kind of do like a 50-50 split of that.
yeah, exactly. I think one of the sorry, there's like one comment I think I did on like one of your videos. It was like a really really emotional video, and I said nobody expects the emotional D&D content. Um, and that comment like still gets likes to this day.
Oh my
Like
god,
it's
amazing.
it's nuts, just how it all ends up being like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
now I wonder
I
which
think
video that's on. Which one made the people
uh,
cry the most?
ooh,
Listen, I love
um,
making
uh,
people laugh, but I love making them cry almost
hmm.
more. Is
And I
that
think
bad?
you know it's fine. We love the emotions here. We love the
I
emotions.
do. I do love them.
Hmm. So yeah, as well as like your process for like finding videos and ideas, like your your like level of like video quality and like content is like top notch, like
Ah,
really high. I would like to say it's like a really high content. Like what like what do you do to like get like that kind of like a
the
high level
crisp
of
look. Yeah.
the crisp, the spicy, what
I
what does it
have
take?
I have a terrible secret. This is an iPhone 7. Um
Uh-huh.
it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And so when I started filming TikToks, my video quality was not as high because I worked a lot. I worked at a restaurant, and so most of the times that I could film were at like midnight, and so it wasn't great. And then once quarantine hit and I had so much free time, I suddenly could film in the daylight. So, strictly, my strategy is always like, once I find the perfect light, that's what gives the videos that good quality. It's honestly all just lighting. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
but I'm hoping soon to get a very good phone with a good camera. And then y'all are
And then
gonna
we
see those tears in like 1080p. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
gonna be great.
And then we need to be scared.
Hmm.
Like it's gonna go to like a whole other level.
Oh,
Whole
it's gonna be terrifying. You're gonna think I'm in the room with you. It's gonna be wild.
yeah, but like no one else was in the room where it happened, so
No one. Yeah,
yeah.
you can only guess. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And there was a long like trial and error period of like figuring out like shots and transitions and like the way that the filters worked on TikTok. But once I got a good handle on those, that's when I think that my stuff like scaled up because I was just able to do a lot of cool shit on my videos that I wasn't able to do before. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. I love like hearing how like someone's like progression from like when they started to like how they are now. Like how do you feel like your content is now compared to like how it was like before? Like how does it differ?
Mm. Well, I feel like I started out. I remember when I first started making videos. I'm an actor and like a writer at heart, so I love like big dramatic stories. But I started just
Mm,
making jokes and only jokes, and I was afraid to like branch out of that because I was like, oh no, like that's what's popular. Making things that are like story driven aren't going to be as big. And so for a long
yeah,
time, I just like did not touch that at all, even though I'd hear sounds all the time, and I was like, "This would be so perfect for this scenario," but I would, like, hold myself back, and then one day, I was just like, "No, I don't care anymore, like, I wanna make the content that I wanna make some sad stuff, I don't care if people don't like it," and then I
yeah,
did, and people ended up liking it. So that was it was a nice end to that story. But so I'd say that the biggest change in my content is that I started out just making jokes and just trying to like cater to trends, I suppose, and then I decided to walk away from that, and so my content is a lot more varied now. So I enjoy being able to like express myself through a few different types of things.
yeah. That's really good to hear.
Mhm.
So yeah, um, as well as being on TikTok and stuff. How what like opportunities do you feel like you've gotten from like being on TikTok and growing?
Oh man, so much D&D.
So,
I gotta say
so
that's
much
like I
D&D.
there's so many amazing things that have happened because of it. Like it's my full-time job now, which is insane and amazing. So I guess like thank you. Like that's the biggest like technical thing that's like so cool and exciting.
Yeah,
But the thing that's the most exciting for me is that like before I started D&D TikTok, I had one group and I had to like scratch and claw to get that group and I was like holding tight to it and it was like it was a good group and everything, but
mm,
it's just it wasn't scratching the itch of D&D that I truly had. And then I started getting on D&D
yeah,
TikTok and I got like invited to all these games and I got to play all the time and like try all the classes I'd always
yeah,
wanted to try but had never gotten the opportunity to. And that was the dream. And now I get to like I get to play in Rolling Tides, which is like that fun blend of like high fantasy exploration combat, also RP, which is great. And then I get to play in Witches of Woodside, which is like almost purely RP, which is also absolutely my shit. So I get to hit
yeah,
thing and feel thing, which is I'd say the best positive aspect coming from being on D&D TikTok. I've also gotten a lot
yeah.
of Instagram followers, which is weird, but I'll
Ooh.
accept.
It it it's always nice to have like a little thing on the side, just Instagram, just in case, the
Absolutely.
just in case the
Just in case the thing happens.
the
Yeah, yeah.
thing, whatever. We
Mhm.
don't have to talk about that.
It'll be fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. Everything is fine.
Okay.
But yeah. So obviously, getting that D&D fix, and getting that of everything. It's definitely something that I can relate to. Like, again, like in the same situation, it's like you start off with like maybe like one group that you have IRL, and it's just like, oh, I really want to be playing more and doing stuff, but we meet like twice like every like month, and
Right.
maybe we get to play for like maybe a few hours, and now it's just like I have to work around like schedules and being like, I can play here, but I may not be able to do on this time. Like it's becoming like a full on thing, and I'm sure like
Right?
it's the same as with you. Yeah,
I've turned down so many games and it has broken my heart because I want to play absolutely
yeah.
everything, but I have to remember that real life exists and I can't exist in D&D solely.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, not yet.
We can
We're
try.
getting. We can get there. You know,
It could happen.
life can be this, right?
Can life be this, please? That's the thing. We just need to start once we get the monetization on our streams. Then that's all I have to do for the rest of my life. Perfect.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Hooray. So yeah, obviously, if people haven't guessed at this point, we love D&D here.
What?
Um, what? Crazy.
Oh my God.
Um, so like, how long have you been like playing D&D? Like playing D&D, DMing D&D? Like, what's the Sarah's Coffee origin story for D&D?
Yeah. So I've been playing and DMing D&D for the same amount of time because I started playing D&D as a DM, which is 2 years ago now. So I was obsessed with D&D for many years before that. I've been a big old nerd all my life, super into comics, super into like medieval history, Greek history, all that shit, all me
Yeah,
growing up. And so naturally, like if you're into that kind of stuff, you kind of have a natural eye towards D&D all of your life, but the problem is always like access. So I never had
yeah,
anyone around me who could like teach me how to do it or even had any experience playing. And so for years and years and years, I was like, I want to play, but I can't, and there's no one. And then I started listening to a podcast where like DMs would interview DMs and players, and they kept being like, you don't have to be experienced to DM a session. All you got to do is pick up some of your friends and do it. And I was like, well, shit. I guess it's on me then. And at that point, I'd watched so many D&D campaigns that I kind of had an idea of how to do things. So I bought the
yeah.
Dungeon Master's Guide, I bought the Player's Handbook, and I took 4 of my friends who also had never played D&D, and I was like, "I promise this is a really good game. We're gonna have fun. Come play with me." Literally bought a table. I didn't own a table at that point, but I bought a table.
Mm-hmm.
I had all my friends over,
Okay.
and we started playing. And that was when I started playing D&D. Sadly, that group died. From people moved away, etc., COVID. But then I started working the job that I worked, and I found out that everyone there is a massive D&D nerd, and I was like, I know how to play D&D, and that was my origin story.
I love that. Yeah. It's definitely been like I'm sure like you can attest to it as well. Like starting out like D&D, like where it was like before, because I think even like 2 years ago, it wasn't like as popular as it is now. It was still kind of like a little like niche thing that was just coming out into
Mhm.
like the public light, and like now it's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
everywhere now
it's
almost. Like
like everyone plays
how have
D&D.
you like felt like
I love it.
yeah
I
like
love it so much
how have you felt about that? Yeah.
because because I when I started playing, I had to convince people. I had to be like, this is like a really good game, I promise. It's so fun. And then by the time like I started being on D&D TikTok and stuff, I would have people come up to me and be like, "You play D&D, right? Can you teach me? I've been wanting to so much." And just oh, the joy of not having to like convince people to play, to have them already either interested or at least familiar with it. It's the dream. I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I've never LARPed, but when everything is finally like taken care of, fingers crossed, now
Touch
I will
wood,
have people to do that with too. And it's all because D&D has like exploded into the popular arena. So I love it so much. It's my favorite.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's very nice to see. Because yeah, I think when I started, it was still very much an underground thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where you would go to like game shops that barely anybody would go to, and play with people who have been playing since like 3.5 second first edition. Even I played with somebody who has like played first edition. It is like nuts to see.
Yeah.
And to that effect, do you believe in the Matt Mercer effect?
I just made a video about this a few weeks ago. Yes and no. So this is what I said, and I wished that I had more than 60 seconds to say it when I said it, so I'm excited to talk about this. I believe that the Matt Mercer effect is real in that it is as real as we allow it to be as DMs. Because when you create false expectations for your players or set up false expectations for yourself, you're just dooming yourself to failure. And so what I believe is the true Matt Mercer effect is DMs being like, I have to be as good as Matt Mercer, and not actually talking to their players about like, what experience do you want out of this game? And so, you know, the easiest way to combat the Matt Mercer effect is to sit down with your players for a session 0 and be like, what are we looking for here? What do we want to get out of this game? And from there, just like, stop putting the pressure on yourself. I personally think that things like Critical Role, Dimension 20, Not Another D&D Podcast, so many other things, the Adventure Zone, all of those things have like made D&D so much more accessible. And the only negative aspect of that is the expectations that we place on ourselves. But I think that those are easily removed. And so I believe that the good outweighs the harm.
Yeah, 100%. Like, you know, it is, I will like attribute to that as well being like, if it wasn't for like the fact that, you know, shows like Critical Role, Dimension 20, like, you know, High Rollers, stuff like that. And if it wasn't for that, you know, I don't think D&D would be where it is today.
No, not at all. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and the renaissance of 5e,
you know,
being so easy to pick up. Yeah. It's great.
Exactly. Definitely differs from like, I think I started learning 3.5 when I started playing. It's so like it's very much a different system in itself, but yeah, it is a lot more easy to pick up 5e, you know, a lot easier for people to come in and like start playing. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's great. I started in 5e, but I've played 3.5 and first edition, and I do have to say, I respect where we come from, but love where we have arrived. So
yes. Somebody quote that inspirational quote, you know, picture of Sarah with the tea, just like
no. Don't do it.
Nervous dab.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's great. Like, what has been like in like the years that you've played and like and a lot of the moments that you've had in D&D, like what's been some of your favorite moments that you've had?
So one of my favorite DM moments actually came from my first campaign that I ever DM'd, was when I brought in a friend of mine who had never played before, and she was very nervous and very excited, but like she was playing like a caster, so there was like a lot of stuff there, and I was like, don't worry, I'll help you, it's gonna be great. And there was a moment where I gave her a flashback, and I got to watch her go from like this player who wasn't quite sure how the game worked to just like falling into the RP and just enjoying it so much and just becoming fully invested and kind of watching the switch flip in her head. And that was, that was an amazing moment. It was like one of my happiest DM moments that I've ever had. In terms of player moments, one of my favorites happened in Rolling Tides, which is just something mechanical that I loved, which is that I play this big himbo barbarian. He's a Goliath. We stand. Yeah. He's already over 8 feet tall. He's like big for a Goliath. And the wizard cast Enlarge on him. And they were facing like a 30-foot construct. And so my Goliath went from like 8 feet to fucking 16 feet tall and just like yoinked onto this thing and tore it apart from the inside. And it was I just felt so strong, and I loved Hit Thing. And it was, I think there's actually a gif of me rolling around somewhere of my reaction when the wizard says that he's casting Enlarge. That's just me going, I'm like losing my shit.
Big boy.
Oh, I was so excited. And also any moment that I get to cry on stream is a beautiful moment for me. So, yes.
AKA every episode of which is
Like
a good side.
every episode of every stream I'm ever in, let's be honest. I don't
And I think I can also say, because I think I know every episode and also every waking moment outside of episode, because the lovely Frank and what goes on there.
Oh man, yeah, I have cried so much over this campaign. It's insane. I don't cry in like real life over real things 90% of the time, but you put any kind of art in front of me and I'm like, turn on the waterworks, it's time. We're crying today. And Frank really knows how to he knows how to get me, man. Ugh. Jeez. Somebody in the chat said Brayless learning to read. That was a beautiful moment. My boy learned to read and it was so sweet and wonderful. Yes.
Oh, it warms my heart.
Yes, he had a -3 intelligence, so words were hard. And now he knows how to read. Good boy.
Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
So, and obviously, we promoted it before, but, like, starting a Patreon, like...
Yeah.
And getting to the point where now you can make, like, almost like a bit of a living off of it. Like, how have you found that? Like,
it's insane. I mean, that was kind of when I reached around like 8,000 followers, I started wondering, like, could I do something with this? Like, could this be what I do? And I almost didn't want to believe it because I enjoyed it so much that I was like, there's no way, right? Like, I always pictured myself doing something that I loved eventually, but I pictured it like 10 years down the road. And so just being able to exist in the things that I love the most, and that's literally what I do, like between DMing and writing, like that's my job these days, and TikTok. I spend so much time making. But yeah, it's been a ride. It's been so wonderful. I don't even know what else to say about it. I'm still in awe about it. Every day I wake up, I was like, this is the agenda, D&D, and I never get tired of it. So yeah.
I love that. It's like, not to say like you've reached like that goal like that every nerd wants, where like it's like you're making a living off doing something that you really, really enjoy, and to that it's like incredible to see.
Yeah, and I feel very lucky because I know that that's not like everyone. That doesn't happen to like even people who have the following that I have. It doesn't always work out that way, that like you are able to monetize it and do things like that. And so I'm very grateful. Yeah,
I love that. As well as being on TikTok, we did touch on it just briefly, being on Twitch, and having your two main campaigns that you're in, good old Witches of Woodside and Rolling Tides. Like, how have you found being on like Twitch and live streaming games?
Oh man, the first time I ever streamed, it's so wild because like I said, I'm an actor by trade, right? Like I perform in front of audiences all the time, or did before everything got shut down. And yet there was something like so spooky about streaming in front of people and having people that I couldn't see watching me, because like when you perform for an audience, you get that very immediate reaction where like their faces are out in the crowd. Like you'll hear laughter, you'll hear them crying, and you don't get that from a Twitch stream. So the first time I ever did it, I was so nervous. I was like sitting there 30 minutes before my call, even just like ready. And now, I mean, it feels like second nature. I'm just like, let's hop on. Let's do another Twitch stream, which is so fun. It's and it's helped me like become more technologically adept as well, because I started like streaming on my own Twitch channel, and that meant that I had to learn Streamlabs. And I always like to say that I am a grandma in disguise who tricked everyone into thinking I was good at technology.
Mhm.
So being able to master something like that was like a huge accomplishment for me. So it's been amazing. I love being able to share campaigns with people. It's really fun to figure out how to make it entertaining for an audience and present that to people.
Yeah, and definitely being like, as you said, an actor by trade, like being able to bring that enjoyment to people and present yourself as that character on stream to people. It's it scratches an itch I didn't even know I had as being
Right?
an actor. Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
so good. It's I did a lot of improv, like that was my main bread and butter as it were. So like D&D is this amazing blend of like actor itch because you're playing a character that you can get so involved in and you can like figure out everything about their life, do like a real in-depth character study. And it's like ultimate improv because you have to improvise literally everything that you say and do the entire time. And so those two together are just like I had
Yeah.
no idea how satisfying they could be. It's amazing.
Yeah, I always feel like that acting and D&D have like always like come together and like like you see like someone like even like as we talked about Critical Role and that kind of stuff, them all being like voice actors, how
Mhm.
in depth and in character those people can be, how like the characters that you play on like Witches of Woodside and Rolling Tides, how deep and like these characters are to a certain degree. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and like what has been like some of your like favorite moments like while on stream and like doing that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah. Um Let me think. So obviously the enlarge moment was great.
Yeah,
Uh in Witches of Woodside, I have to say, some of my favorite moments have been like I play this character who she's very I'd call her the mom friend. Like she has extremely high charisma and that translates in like her being the mom friend essentially. And so people like
yeah,
her because of that. But so the really fun moments on stream have been when like she steps outside of that and being able to like play with the idea of like in what situation do you act contrary to who you are perceived as
yeah.
kind of. So I got to yell in my last session. Um, and she does not yell. Like she's very even tempered. She's very like what's the word? Conflict. She likes to resolve conflict. And so the
Yeah.
fact that she created conflict was just such a delicious moment. It was amazing. There was also a moment where she accidentally confessed on stream that she had been in love with someone that she hadn't told before, and that was like a delicious moment as well.
Hmm.
So I loved that. I loved on Rolling Tides, one of the most intense moments. This is gonna be spoilers for Rolling Tides. I'm so sorry, but it's a long time ago, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Was when my Goliath barbarian had run away from his home, and he had said that it was because, like, his rages were destroying everything in the village, kind of thing, and he had to get away, etc., etc. But the true reason was he was in love with someone back home, and he wanted to like run away and become the kind of person that would be deserving of this person. And then the dude showed up. It's a different planet,
Ah!
and he showed up. Uh, and there was just this really amazing, like, B plot that I got to explore with my DM, where they were fighting each other and there was miscommunication, and he'd never confessed to him that he was in love with him. And right before basically what happened was the love interest, he cast hold person on my barbarian so that he could run away. And the DM let me stretch the rules a little bit to reach out and grab him and be like, I'm so sorry, and kiss him. And then he was like, I've always loved you, and then ran away, jumped away into the water forever. And it was this amazingly beautiful, intense moment, and I was crying, and whew, it was so good. It was so good. I love romance in my D&D campaigns if it's not apparent.
Yeah. It warms my heart. It warms my heart. Oh, it's great. And like, here's like a little thing. Like, as you said, like going in, like it being second nature now to you at this point. Like going in streams. Like, do you have like any like pre-stream like rituals or like things you like to do beforehand to like really like get yourself ready, per se?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have two separate rituals that are the same thing, but I just do them differently. And it's the makeup that I put on for the streams. Actually, I have a specific look for both streams. I'm actually wearing the Witches of Woodside look tonight because I was filming some Mari videos before this for the Witches of Woodside campaign. Oh, there's some people out my window. Excuse that. So yeah, I really enjoy, like, I love doing my makeup. I love doing like weird, strange things with it, and so it just really helps me to get into character, to choose a look, and then like as I'm putting it on, it's like, okay, I'm ready to be this character. So I'd say that's my biggest like pre-stream ritual kind of thing. And there have been some times when like I've been running late and I've had to do not exactly what I do, and it always takes me like 10 minutes more to get actually into the game when I do that. I also used to roll out my dice, but I've recently been betrayed by all of my physical dice, so I've been using digital rollers. So that tradition has fallen a little bit to the wayside for now. But once I cleanse all my dice, I think that's another pre-stream ritual that I'll do.
Yeah, I love that. Everyone has their like little things. Me personally, I love drinking a cup of tea before the stream. Nice. Like, you know, because I you know, we all suffer from a bit of nerves, even at this point. Like, always like that kind of like, okay, you know, gotta get know, in that moment. So, you know, it's always nice to have like a nice little tea drink.
100%. Oh, that is a tradition that I always do. I always drink seltzer when I stream. Is it non-alcoholic or alcoholic? It depends on the night, but it's always seltzer.
it's you know, just depends how we're feeling. You know?
Depends. Last Witches of Woodside, maybe there is a little bit of spice in that seltzer. Through a straw. The welcome in is correct. Always through a straw. Yes.
Always through a straw. Mm-hmm. Awesome. So yeah, I think we're gonna be starting into some questions now.
Ooh.
Wow. So yeah, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Sarah, we'll start getting them going. So here's one from the lovely Dice Goblin Andre, Mr. Doug.
Hi, Doug. Yeah, Dice Goblin Andre plays Doug Salazar or the Water Boy for guesting stuff on Witches of Woodside.
Yes, he does. A lovely person. So he asks, what tragic flaws do you find most interesting in characters that you've created?
Okay. We're gonna. I mean, I gotta talk about my two public characters, but then I'll talk about one that I've created that I haven't played yet that I really love. So I really enjoyed when I created Brayless this idea of his flaw was an unintentional one. Like, he had a large heart that really cared for people, but was unable to stop himself from hurting people. And I loved that kind of push and pull of like never wanting to cause harm, and yet inevitably you must. So that was a really interesting flaw to explore. It's been less and less. He's been overcoming it because as his intelligence rises, he's less likely to unintentionally hurt people. So that's been really fun to play with too. And we're gonna get into a little bit of Mari lore because she has not fixed her flaws yet, which are that she has come from a very difficult life before that I cannot get into specifically because of spoilers. But the mechanics of her life have essentially made her believe that she is not meant to achieve happiness in her lifetime. And I think that's a really interesting flaw to explore, the idea of like that self-loathing to the point that you destroy yourself in the service of others is really fun to play with because that is a character who is hurtling towards self-destruction if they are not stopped. So the question has been like, how do you stop this character from doing that? And so it's been really fun to work with Frank in order to kind of slow that process until she can work through the flaw and not completely destroy herself. And it's been really interesting to watch how that flaw works out in like refusing to talk to people about her problems or acting like they don't exist or redirecting the conversation back to the other person. It's just really interesting to role play that push and pull of like, we don't need to talk about me because I'm not something worthy of being talked about. So I love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. I have a question.
Yeah.
And just because, I kind of think about it every now and again, how have you felt your D&D characters have affected you in real life?
It's a really good question. I always try my best to create characters that are not like me. And then inevitably, I'll get like 3 or 4 sessions into playing it and be like, shit, did it again. So it's what's been interesting about it is discovering things about myself through being like, oh, I've created a character that isn't me. And then being like, no, that's you right there. Because I don't realize it until I've gotten a little bit in. And thankfully, it's never too intense because otherwise it would become therapy time D&D, which as much as that is so fun, not always the best to subject an audience to. So something that I've found is prevalent in every single character I create is all of them have anxiety to some extent. Like Brayless, if he gets overwhelmed, goes into a rage. That's basically a panic attack. Mari suffers from panic attacks. And so those are things that like I put it in not really thinking about myself, but I have a pretty intense anxiety disorder that at this point in my life I have a pretty good hold on, and like I've worked through it, but I seem to create these characters who are, when I first had anxiety, I did not handle it well. I didn't have the resources available to me to do so. So sometimes I wonder if like me creating these characters is like finding a way to like create a character that's able to get it right from the beginning, And so it's just something that I always seem to build in, and it's been really fun to explore that and like go through, kind of represent that in a media and think about how my own experiences inform that. So it's been fun.
Yeah. Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Here's another question from Browncoat40 in the chat. What is your dice cleaning ritual?
It's nothing fancy. It's which is probably maybe why my dice are still cursed. I drop them in a bowl with some soap and I clean them up. There's no dark cleansing ritual to it at all. It's just like the dice get a bath today. That's it.
You know what? Yeah, that's fair. It's always important to keep your dice clean and,
Exactly. We don't
clean
want to get those germs on these. Put these in my mouth.
Yeah, clean your dice, clean your hands, wear a mask, that kind of stuff. What? I didn't say
Exactly.
anything.
Exactly. Wear a mask.
Wear a mask. We have another question from tree_kip. Do you have a preference for what material? Oh my god, material dice are?
I generally like to use plastic dice. Metal dice feel really cool for 1 second for me, and then I don't enjoy that I like roll them and they just like kind of fall onto the number. I like the uncertainty of watching it roll around for a bit before it settles on something. So I really like plastic dice. However, I've really wanted to, and I haven't been able to yet, but I've really wanted to get myself a pair of like stone dice, like dice that are made from like quartz or something, or like rose crystal. Yeah, so, but those are pretty intense, so I haven't gotten those yet. Oh, there you are. Okay, I lost you for a second. Hang on, you're back.
Do you have? I mean, I'm sure. Do you have a? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Ooh.
I'm back. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Okay. So, do you have like, I guess in that regard, do you have like a favorite dice set that you like to use?
Oh, I do. I don't have them with me. Actually, wait. One of them is on the floor. These are not my luckiest dice. But they are my favorite, and they were actually a gift from a follower of mine. And I am so grateful for them. But they're like these green dice that are kind of cloudy, and they're so pretty. And they don't show through the screen enough, but I love them so much. They almost look like jade, and so I love playing with them. They betray me a lot, but I love them anyway. my most
I love
lucky
them. They hurt. But...
Yes. My most lucky die is one that I got that's like kind of it's not very pretty. It's like a purple marbly thing that I got in a pair of like 60 dice from Amazon when I was DMing and had to just have a bunch of extra sets for new players. But that thing rolls nat 20s like 1 in 5 rolls consistently, because a nat 20 is like a 20% chance, but you don't really see that often. Or like a 5% chance. But like, I roll nat 20s with that thing so much. It's insane.
Wow, that's awesome. You
ugly.
never know what dice end up. You never know what dice ends up being the luckiest.
100%.
And even then, it's just like you could like come in. Yeah, here we go. Here's another question. Do you believe in dice luck?
I don't want to, but it's like one of those superstitions that I can't help but believe in. Because like I bought myself a pair of rainbow dice that I was so excited to use specifically for Witches of Woodside. I don't think I've ever rolled above a 10 on those things. They're so bad. And so I'm sure that like the way that they were built and like the weight has something to do with it. I'm sure that there's a logical explanation for why they suck, but my lizard brain is like, unlucky die, do not use. So yeah.
Put to side, do not roll.
Never.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We have another question from Feldaleb. I don't know. You're in the chat. I'm sure. Do you think
on Twitter?
Oh, nice. Do you think the distinct? What do you? I am all over the place today. I am so sorry.
You're good.
Do you think the distinction between magical damage and non-magical damage is important? Do you follow the rules of non-magical resistance in your games?
Ooh, okay. So I'm going to preface this by saying, run your games however you want. Like, this is what I like, but you are under no obligation to do it. I love the distinction between magical and non-magical damage, because it makes everything like so much more of a level playing field. Because if all of your damage is non-magical, if all of it is like melee attack damage, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, all of your casters are just going to be screwed. like, they're gonna be the ones that are unfairly targeted because barbarians are gonna take half damage. Fighters are tanks that just are like HP factories. So it's
Yeah.
really fun to just put the fear of God into your melee fighters every once in a while by being like, make a wisdom saving throw for that sweet, sweet, like psychic magical damage. I love that. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the rules for non-magical resistance. I'm trying to understand if that means like
I think
barbarians
that's
are resistant to like bludgeoning and piercing, but not fire damage. Is that the question that they're asking?
I think so. I think that's the way they were interpreting it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. I know that I do make some videos about like gatekeepers and rules lawyers, but generally I am a lover of rules.
Yeah.
I love to know as many rules as possible because I think that they're a very fun way to understand how the world works. And so generally I love knowing all the rules of D&D and following them as closely as I can so that I can break them effectively when I want to have fun. So generally if there is a combat mechanic rule in D&D, I will usually follow it. Yeah.
And, being loving the rules and being a rules lawyer, I think is like two
Worlds apart.
very different worlds apart.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's so many instances where the rules can help your players.
Yeah.
So like it's nothing beats that high of being able to lean in and be like, actually your spell says this, and give them like 20 feet extra radius as a range of attack or something. Like sometimes
Yeah.
the rules are a super fun boon that you get to give to your players. So
yeah. In my regard, I'm one of the players, and I'm one of the players who are always just like, if somebody doesn't really know like how something works, I'm just like, oh hey, it just kind of works like this. So you can do this. You might not be able to do this with it, but you can certainly do this.
right,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly being like, it's wrong.
This is the rule.
Yeah. We have another question from Caldrennan, I think. How do you solve a problem like Mari?
Therapy. Honestly, like there's gonna be here's a little fun secret for anyone who's watching that watches Witches of Woodside. Mari was on the edge of making a very bad decision. And she, about a week ago, in campaign time, or maybe 2 weeks ago, decided because her ex and then his sister, both her ex started to get therapy while they were in a relationship, and that made her kind of be introduced to the idea. And then his sister, also, while she became friends with her, decided to go and get help for therapy. And that kind of made the wheels turn in Mari's head. And she also started going to therapy. And it's literally, I kid you not, it has currently in game saved her life. So, like, that's how you solve a problem like Mari. We love to see it.
We love to see it. I think we have time for one last question, and I think it's a very nice question to go out on. If all of your characters were having tea together, what tea would they be drinking, and what would the conversations be about?
Aw, this is a super cute question.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Mari would be drinking coffee. She's not a tea drinker. But she'd be drinking coffee. Braylus would probably be drinking like a black tea that he had steeped for way too long, but he doesn't really know how tea is supposed to taste, so he doesn't mind. And my paladin, who is from my home game, Kithri, she would most likely be drinking probably exactly what I'm drinking right now. She's a halfling, so she'd probably be drinking a green tea. She'd probably put a little bit of honey in it. And what would they be talking about? they'd probably be talking about their friends. That's something that I've kind of cultivated throughout all of my characters is that they all just care deeply for their friends. Uh, Kithri, she has a very complicated relationship with her friends, where they never agree on anything. They're just constantly fighting, and yet the minute any of them are in danger, like she will throw herself in front of them. And so
Yeah.
I think all of them would just be talking about the people in their life that they care about and just so excited to tell these new people that they've met about the people that they get to travel with. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what a nice vibe to go out on
Yeah,
tonight.
true.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're gonna wrap it up for today, for tonight,
Lovely.
even.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much for having me on. This was a joy.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for being here and drinking some lovely green tea with me. Yeah. So, is there anything you would like to promote before we end the stream? Real quick.
Yeah. Check out all the Twitch streams. We got Witches of Woodside on Bard Community College. We got Rolling Tides on the Welcome In. And I also have my personal Twitch channel. I just play video games on there. So if you want to check that out, it's also Sarah is Coffee.
Yes, and make sure to check out the lovely SarahisCoffee's Patreon as well. Give money. Give money.
Gib.
Give, but don't actually. But give. You know.
100%.
So yeah. Thank you for coming on, and I guess that's the tea for today. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
All right.
you.